your girl, Miss Little Cool, and I'm coming to you to do this review for P-Valley Season 1, Episode 4. Title episode is called A Trap. And I'm going to say something. This is one of my favorite episodes of the P-Valley series thus far. Especially that end with Mercedes and her mother. OMG, I loved it even when I seen it. This is like my fourth time seeing it. I think it's my third time seeing it in its entirety. And it still is like watching it for the first time. So I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to do the review scene by scene, but I'm not going to go in depth. But I'm going to talk about how this episode was basically one of the most powerful episodes of the series thus far, because it's really dealing with two themes. Gentrification, which is pretty much keeping, in this case, Black people down. And gentrification in terms of corporations, big business, racism, but even your own family keeping you from like elevating yourself, or even trying to basically like kick you out and keeping you in the bottom, you know? Now, Mississippi is not in this city. Chucalissa is in the Delta, which is like connects between Arkansas and Tennessee. So that's northern west Mississippi. But still, they're still kept like the bottom, whether it's racial or whether it's like personal. So we're going to go over the scene one where the patron, I call him Mr. Self-Righteous. He harasses Keyshawn. He's a professional man and he's Black. And he basically tells her, you know, why a woman like you want to be in this club, basically throwing yourself on these men. So Mercedes is like, what you doing, like coming at my girl like that? Like if you going to be in the club and you not throwing up money, you best to get your ass out of here. So the patron is basically saying like, this is like a disgusting place. Like how can anybody be here? Or how can any woman do this herself? So Mercedes is like, give her the money, since you took like, 10-15 minutes of her time to hear this stuff, because he was really harassing her. So he gives, like in his way, giving the money is throwing it on the ground. And he tells Keyshawn to pick it up. And he's like, no, you pick it up. So he's like, I'm not. So then Diamond comes over and tells him, pick it up. And I'm only going to say it one time. So then he would rather not like get knocked out by Diamond. So Diamond don't knock him out. Diamond chokes him out. Diamond chokes him. So what ends up happening is he basically picks up the money and gives it to Keyshawn. So Keyshawn is basically like, well, you know, she down on herself because she's like, well, what if this man is really right? What if being a stripper or dancer is not a really like self-righteous job? What if I could do better with my life than dancing? What if what I'm doing is demeaning? So Mercedes like, listen, you got to do what you got to do. You should never be ashamed of yourself just because you got to dance. And I 1,000% agree. Listen, as long as you not, I'm going to say this, as long as you ain't hoeing, why should you feel ashamed because you getting money to basically take care of your children? You basically, we find out later on in season 2 that she was put in a position to be a dancer because of her baby father. His family didn't help her out. And this is like the justification that she's going through, even though in season 1, we really don't know the backstory of her and Derek. But she had no choice but to take care of 2 kids holding on her own because Derek, being white, can't keep a job. Okay? And also, what other better way was it to basically dance when, you know, you can make like 5 nights out of a week, you can make like $5,000 times that by 52. You know, that's some good money. That is some good money, you know, and then other endorsements, other opportunities, you know, I mean, that's a lot. And so you can't judge them. Like some of the girls in that club, I know they doing some stuff on the side. You could tell. But with her, Keyshawn, she's not hoeing. She's not doing that. She's just dancing. So we go to the second scene with Haley. Basically, she cleaned the money up with alcohol because she's not trying to have any fingerprints on it. So she takes it to the bank, and then she basically is like, I basically, got beer spills on the money. She said, I don't know if you know about that. So she's not a teller. She's actually a bank representative. And she was like, don't me and my husband know it? So her husband goes to the Pynk. She can't keep her man out the Pynk, so she know all about the Pynk and stuff. And she seemed boring. So Haley opens the account at the Mississippi Trust Bank, and she deposits it with the amount of $28,675.02. That's her opening balance. So this is what she's made between the Pynk and I think also the money transfers. I think the money transfers, because so far she's done like 3. But then, no, I don't know. I think some of that money might come from the Pynk, but I think most of it is from the money transfers. Because the thing about it, if it makes sense, I don't think she would have bleached all that money if it was just from the Pynk. Because she's not that good of a dancer to make $28,000. And so far, we're only in 4 episodes. So what I think happened is, I think those are the 3 money transfers she made. No. Let me take that back. The 2 money transfers. I think she's done 2 money transfers. And then the stacks that Andre passed over to her from the bribe from Corbin. And then all the other money total up to 28. So that's what I think it is. So now we go to scene 3, and it opens with the Chuckalisa challenges, and Tarika, which we find out is her daughter, basically leads the team. And so Mercedes is meeting the realtor named Sinclair, and she tells her that she's opened a gym for her majorettes. So the realtor's perplexed because she's like, wait a minute, you're not opening like a restaurant. You're not open like a fitness gym. You trying to basically open a gym for children, for girls? She was like, yeah, I'm selling an experience. So I'm going to have a subscription fee. 20 girls for $20 like each per month. And so she was like, the lease is going to give you time, but you're going to have to definitely put a down payment on it tomorrow. And Sinclair, the realtor, says, if I was you, I would up that fee to $250. Dreams are expensive. Make them pay for what it's worth. And I agree with her on that. $250, that's a good deal. If 20 of them girls basically pays $250, right? That's $5,000 a month, right? And then if you bring in other dancers, like 2 other dancers to teach other girls, like she could have a booming business just from that. So she basically thinks about it. And so what happens is Pastor Phoney Patrice basically is going to her bank, because unlike Haley, Autumn, and unlike Mercedes trying to open her gym, she closed on her account at the Nanaka Federal Bank. That's the county within Chuckalisa. So every time she has a feather that ends up on her eyelash, it's like a sign from the Most High. So the bank teller asks her, you sure you want to close this account? And she was like, yes, that's what the Lord told me to do. The Lord told me to close the account. So she's all right. So she gets a cashier's check of the amount of $20,034.58. So this is the money that Mercedes is basically has stocked into the church so that they could get the loan. Now she's closing it, but not for the reasons of her own. Now this is the money that she needs to basically put the down payment on her gym, but it don't go as planned. So Gidget is basically training Haley to work the pole. They call it the pony. And she's like, listen, the reason why you're not able to do this right is because you're not throwing your weight around. Okay? And so you gotta basically trust the pony. It's about flying around it. It's about flying. It's about trusting how you move. So Mercedes' last dance is basically going down. And they basically planned to do a duo called Salt and Pepper. But Uncle Clifford was like, y'all could be a trinity. And the trinity could also consist of Haley. Because Haley is improving. But Keyshawn don't really trust Haley. She don't dislike her, but she don't trust her. But Gidget doesn't have issues with really anyone. So Haley goes in the room, the office with Uncle Clifford, and talks about the paradise, why is she going in there? Keyshawn's like, yo, when I was doing the Sleeping Beauty routine with the anesthesiologist, I overheard all the regular in the paradise room talking with Uncle Cliff, and he said a casino is coming to town and they want to build it over the Pynk. So Gidget is like, wait, so you mean to tell me they going to take the Pynk out? And she's like, I don't know. Like, come on, Keyshawn. If you're going to tell it right. So what happens is Uncle Clifford takes Autumn in the room and shows her how he basically saw the PowerPoint presentation and everything. And he said this, and this was powerful. This is the whole theme of gentrification. Folks named Jenkins is getting half of what the Trumps is getting, if you know what I mean. So what that means, that's code word for black people who live in Chucalissa are getting half of what the Trumps are getting. And he says the Kyle's land is worth $500,000, yet they getting nearly $6 million. Cliff never got an offer, but he owns the Pynk, and it's been passed down for I think 6 generations. Now, the thing about this is what the theme is. A lot of people think the theme is LGBT in the show. It's really gentrification and black people having ownership of property and land and power and leverage. Because how the Kyle's land is only worth $500K, but they getting nearly $6 million. But Corbin want to lease it to get 10. But they're not even considering to offer Uncle Clifford money. Now, yes, he do owe that loan, but he also is an owner still. You understand? So basically, he's like, I took the club to pay off a debt. I took off debt. I'm paying off a debt took up on the plate. So we found out that he didn't cause the debt. It wasn't mismanagement. Basically, he took the club, refurnished the club, and from Ernestine's, which is his grandmother, and made it into the Pynk. And he basically put the debt in his name. So he's been pretty much trying to pay it off. But I'm going to tell you what I believe is going on with that situation. It's a lot of predatory things going on with that too. Because what I think is when he's just paying off one debt, then they throw another debt. And that's the whole system of sharecropping. That's the whole system of not convict leasing, but it's itinerant farmers. Just when you think you out the hole, it's no, bitch, you still owe us something else. But the thing is that it's something that they've been doing to black people post-slavery. They was doing that to us even when we were indentured servants, before they basically classified us as chattel slaves. And I can't stand the freaking system of it. And that's why I ain't moving down south. I'm staying my ass up north. I don't give a damn. So anyway, Mercedes' last dance basically comes up, and she's basically, she's not going to be able to find her way to the club. And this is, Clifford telling Haley. So she says, once Mercedes' last dance comes, I'm going to be able to pay it off. Now, see, this is what I don't like about Haley. Haley doesn't have the compassion for the people in Chucalissa because she's not from there. So you came to this town, they took you in, but you basically saying you ain't going to be able to stop them. Nobody. So then she basically is told to use Andre to ask more questions, but she was like, that man is creepy. He had pictures all over of me. And Uncle Cliff is like, bitch, he got pictures of me on his laptop. You ain't that special. So the Pynk is basically A1 property, according to Andre, at this presentation. Now, the man Bill is the proprietor of the Promised Land Casino and Resort Limited. So the Kyle property is one signature away, but the holdup is Corbin. And the Pynk is on the verge of foreclosure. Now, Andre admits that Uncle Clifford found out about the casino. So his godfather, Mayor Tydell, is upset because that was supposed to be easy to just take it from him. And pretty much they're waiting for the foreclosure proceedings. So Uncle Bill's like, make him an offer. And what's the point about it if he's about to go on an auction block? Now, Tydell can't stand Clifford Sales, his cousin. But he's like, damn, like, you motherfuckers, y'all still doing this shit. He was like, don't get upset. I didn't mean it that way. So he was like, you can't get the land allotted at price budget, then I'm going to take Promised Land somewhere else. Now, here's the thing. I think that the reason why they didn't want to be a secret was because Mayor Tydell knew Chuckalisa was going to really get upset, especially them young men, because they want that Pynk to stay. They would have fucked him up over that. But I also think that because Uncle Clifford is LGBT, that Tydell didn't give him the respect to say, you know what, give the man, let him know about it. Give him an offer. Like, you're not just going to take his property without giving him anything. Like, he was trying to basically eminent domain it. He hates it. For whatever reason, we don't know. But I think he hates it because I believe that he wanted the property when Ernestine wasn't able to manage it. But Clifford got it. And he probably was like, the gay man in the family got it. So I'm going to take it from him. It's some jealousy. So Tydell talks to Andre and he was like, you going to make this happen. You going to basically, what I'm going to do though is my office is going to draw up a special ordinance to expedite the foreclosure on the Pynk. And so Bill's like, close the Kyle deal without delay. And the way he talks to Alois, he calls her bitches and all that. He's disgusted. And pretty much, he's not really happy with what happened. This is in terms of Andre. And Tydell accuses him of making a deal with Corbin Kyle at the Pynk. And he told him to stay his ass out of there. So the Kyle sale, he tells his godfather, it's going to be done by the end of the week. And he says, you handle Corbin. I'm going to handle Clifford Sales. But stay your ass out the Pynk. Now, Pastor Phoney Patrice basically is ignoring Mercedes' calls. Now, while she's ignoring her calls, she's singing at the Delta and preaching at the Delta Valley Revival. Now, Pastor Guilford is basically telling her, you got to stop these antics because as a woman, you're supposed to stay in your place in the church. You could sing, and if you go on preach, you could preach to the women and children. But you're not preaching to no men. Like, he's old-fashioned with it. And he's like, women ain't got no place in the pulpit. So she's like, well, your congregation may think otherwise. And I gotta say, she's good at what she does. And I agree with her. The congregation really want to hear her. She keep it going. But she realizes even more so, I need to get my own church. Wink, wink. So the coach visits Mercedes at the Pynk and tells her, the season starts tomorrow. And he gives her a gift. And the gift, now this shit pissed me off. The gift, Mercedes says it can't go on the floors. It's a name bracelet with Mercedes. You gonna give a 27-year-old woman a nameplate that she could have got when she was 11 years old? Really, bitch? I was done. And the shit looked like he only paid $300 for it. Because Mercedes got a lot of letters in it. But still, I'm like, oh, hell no. You think of her as your little toy. So Gidget basically blows up the cover and says, I heard that the Pynk is closing. So Latoya, Brazil, all the girls like, who told you that? Who? And she's like, yeah. And so Keyshawn's like, yeah, who? And she was like, well, Keyshawn told me this and that. And it's like, oh, Lord. And so she's like, what we going to do and everything. So then they asked Mercedes if she knew. So Mercedes like, she knew, but Mercedes didn't know. See, Mercedes knows about Uncle Clifford being behind. She knows about the debt. She knows about the $55K that Uncle Clifford owes because he took up the debt when the club was once Ernestine's. What she don't know about is Promised Land Casino, but she thinks she really know. But they on a up more so than her. So she basically tells them, listen, if the Pynk closed, y'all was supposed to stack your paper. I stacked for 7 years and I finally got my gem. And so they crying. So they start calling her bitches and stuff. And she was like, Gidget and Keyshawn, what y'all did was y'all was buying Louis bags and, buying all this stuff instead of stacking your paper. And so Gidget's like, well, I likes being a stripper. And she said, your mammy will tell you that you can't be a stripper forever. So they walk away. And then Keyshawn's like, you are mean. And, you think you better us because you getting out. And let me say something. Mercedes got a mean streak. But that comes because of how her mama treated her. So what happens is Andre and Haley get into it. And he calls her a honeypot. Now, honeypot is a code word for a woman who basically uses a man to lure him to basically being harmed. Okay? There was a movie called Honeypot back in 2013 or 14. It used to be on Netflix. It was based out in London. And in the movie, very good movie, the girl was originally from Trinidad. And it's a true story. She lives with her family, her mother, after being away from her mother for 14, 15 years. So she starts going out with this guy, and the guy is horrible. He's a gang member. He's no good. And they bully people, particularly like defenseless people. So there's this guy that she's friends with. And what happens is that she lies and says that the friend who was really good to her basically harassed her when it really wasn't the case. But to basically not have the heat on her, she sets him up, lures him to get killed by the gang member, the guy that she had a crush on. And the guy that ends up getting killed, he really liked her. So she ends up doing like 7 to 10 years in like the UK jail. So I just wanted to throw that in. That's what Honeypot is. So he's like, you basically tried to smash me for intel in the PowerPoint about the land appraisal. And he was like, nothing's going to turn this around. And he was like, I'm trying to push the casino so I could do more for the city, my city. Because remember, he lived there until he was 7. Then he moved to Atlanta. So he was like, I jeopardized all that for a stripper. And he was like, go home to your kid. And so she was like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. So she screams. And then next thing you know, she wake up in a hotel with him. But they don't have sex or anything. It's actually a motel. And then Andre thinks about what almost happened. And then she talks about her daughter's scars and everything. And, she leaves and tells him that his wife, Brittany Seagrams, is lucky. So she goes on this $9,000 transfer spree at the Telex and wears different wigs, including dressing up like Janet in Poetic Justice. And Mercedes appearing for her last dance. And Little Murder, Wody, and Pico, they show up at the Pynk. And they try to cut through the VIP section. Diamond, of course, ain't having it. But Uncle Cliff was like, no, let them in. They good. They can go through VIP. They don't stand in line. So Pastor Phoney Patrice won't pick up Mercedes' calls. And she does receive a text from Sinclair saying, receive a competing offer on the space. Can only give you until midnight to put down the cashier's check. Please confirm. So Mercedes is basically upset because her mother won't answer. So she opens the locker and she's like, which one of these bitches ruin my mascara because she sees, decorations, everything. Now, Keyshawn is wearing blue, which is very significant throughout the series. Because when she wears blue, she feels regal and she feels, beautiful. So Keyshawn basically tells her, if the Pynk closes, I don't know where I'm going to work at. And she was like, I'm not like you, Sadie's. You're strong. My only strength is being pretty. And Mercedes looks at her like, okay, but, like, you need to get strong. You a black woman. You need to be strong. So Daquan basically is told by Little Murda that he wants him to play this song. Like, Mercedes got to bless the track. But Daquan was like, yo, this is her last night. I can't just mess up the music that she want me to play. He was like, I need her to bless the track. And the track is called Over Love. That's my song. So Over Love, we end up finding out, is an ode to his love for Clifford Sales. Okay. But I'm going to get back to that later. So what happens is Mercedes speaks to Maine. And Maine is like, you came to support your girl. And he was like, yeah, I had to come out there. I told you that little fat motherfucker is holding my bracelet because he's on house arrest. So he pays this little fat, he's not really little. He's like 15, 16. He pays him to wear the ankle monitor. So Little Murda steps up to Sadie's and Maine is like, oh, hold up. And he was like, what you doing approaching this woman for like that? Rocking these Christmas colors. He's like, nigga, I'm rocking Gucci. So he was like, listen, I wanted to, tell you, I wish you the best of luck. And, I'm going to give you best wishes because I know you're going to do big things. Because that was the very first person that he met at the Pynk, which was Mercedes. So Mercedes like, okay, whatever. So Maine like, these hurt village hustlers, they don't have no respect, for the OGs. So what happens is Mercedes' mother, Pastor Phoney Patrice, steps out the car. And she steps, and I know she saw a flyer of Mercedes' Last Dance. And so Mercedes basically gives Big L a hug, and she also gives him her nameplate, which is valuable, basically to save the club. And I don't think she wanted it because it looked like a teenage jewelry for teenagers. So she basically, tells her mother, meet me next to the Kroger's. So what happens is she basically talks to Haley or Autumn. And she basically tells her, you know why I got the OG lockup? Because I earned it. And so Haley like, she's about to teach me how to dance. And so, Mercedes can't stand the bitch. And she was like, don't get caught trying to climb your way back in. That's what Autumn tells Mercedes. So that was powerful because you're going to see what ends up happening. So Pico basically wanted to fight Maine. And so what's his name was like, no, chill. It's all right. I took care of it. And he was like, they going to try to punk you and whatnot. But I hear you, everybody's punk. So from what I heard, so he basically punched him in the face. Pico. And that's one of his hurt village hustlers homies. So then he's like, you dead to me, nigga. Nigga, you dead to me. You dead to me. So Diamond throws him out. And so Mercedes meets up with the realtor, believing that her mother, Pastor Phoney Patrice, is going to have the money. And so Sinclair tells her another buyer brought the property. And so she's like, who? Because my mom's supposed to meet me here. So she sees her mother walk out of the place that's supposed to be her gym. And she says, Sadie's, I've been praying all my life for this. He finally answered my prayers. He showed me the way. I put money down for a new church. This is my property. And so Mercedes like, what are you talking about? This is supposed to be my gym. Oh, no. Mercedes, this is going to be where my new church going to be. He spoke to me through the feather, and I knew I had to have it. And she said, you stole my money. You fucking bitch. And she beats Pastor Phoney Patrice's ass. And it's a brawl. And I said, OMG. Every time I watch that scene, it never gets old. So DJ Never Scared basically plays over love while Mercedes is beating Patrice's ass. Uncle Clifford trying to calm the patrons down. And he by telling them, Mercedes, she on her way, So they're like, Mercedes. So what happens is, I need a girl to step in. So LaToya's like, I'll do it, but then she burps because she was like, I had those, butter, pepper, lemon wings. So Gisha is like, I'm not going to do it. So then Keyshawn decides to step in, like, I'll do it. So then she's like, okay, come on now. So then she dances and she becomes that star. And Miss M.I. Cricket letter I, humpback, dances to Over Love. So instead of Mercedes busting the track, Keyshawn blessed the track. And the track becomes, like the local hit in Chuckalisa. So Little Murder happy. He was like, that's my fucking song. But he don't know that Mercedes isn't dancing. That's actually Keyshawn. So then he cries because Uncle Clifford comes out. And he tells Clifford, that shit is about you, man. He's like, for real? He's like, yeah. So even Self-Righteous throws it up, dancing to Keyshawn. So while they inside, throwing it and giving Keyshawn money, Clifford says, yo, Over Love is really about me. He's like, yeah, it's really about you. So he was like, prove it. So then they go in there and they basically, they fuck. And that seems a little nasty. So I can't watch it no more. Not because of them fucking so much, but it's what Little Murder does. I can't do it. So it ends with Mercedes and Pastor Phoney Patrice getting arrested. And I'm going to tell you something. I love that episode. That ish was good. It was good, but I really like the Pynk because it focuses on gentrification. And people think gentrification is over with. But gentrification started in New York and Chicago. But it's really going on hot and heavy all over America. And it's really to displace black people because they want to erase black Americans. Okay? But we got to band together and we got to say, hell no, we ain't going nowhere. And that's what the whole theme of the Pynk is all about. P-Valley. And with that being said, it's your girl, Miss Hannah LaCour. I'm signing off. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and comment. Also subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't, make sure you hit the notification bell to receive notices about future commentaries, reviews, and lives. Thank you for listening and have yourself a great night.